AI in natural intelligence. That will be our next topic. So we invite... We invite Professor Ritendra Sharma and Chaitanya Giri for the stage. Thank you for coming. Namaste. I'll just give a brief bio while we settle in. So the Professor Ritendra Sharma, director in this Institute of Special Studies, Ahmedabad. Ahmedabad. See, relax. Ahmedabad. I can do it. Ahmedabad, thank you. Where he is the Dean of Indic Studies, the founder of India Inspires Foundation, Indore, among others. Some of his research contributions include the prologue to What is Hinduism by David Frawley and as series editor of Indic Studies, Cultural Astronomy and Cosmic Order. His key areas of interest and expertise are Indian knowledge systems, wokeism, and cultural Marxism, yeah, there was, of course, cultural Marxism, Shabda and Dhavani, India's linguistic tradition. Chaitanya Giri is a scientist turned techno-strategy analyst. He is trained as a planetary scientist and has worked on the world's first ever mission to land on a comet. He has gradually moved towards research on the scientific and technological security of Bharat and the world, and more importantly, from a Bharatiya vantage point. Chaitanya has worked closely with the country's scientific and security agencies and academic institutions, and in doing so has developed a passion for studying the true and revelatory facts of Bharat's scientific and technological history, filled with tremendous heroics, grit, and sacrifice. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. It's really a pleasure, great pleasure actually, to be here in Auroville. I've had fond memories of Puducherry. I've had fond memories of my grandfather coming here quite often to the Aurobindo ashram when he was alive. And this opportunity that I got, all thanks to the Auroville Lit Fest and specifically Arvindanji, is something that I cherish a lot. And since this is the last session of the day, it's very important for us to keep your interest peaked. And we'll try to do that. And we'll try to make it as interesting as possible. So at this point in time, we are wanting to discuss natural intelligence. There's been a lot of talk about AI around, and it goes into a certain direction. But when we say natural intelligence in this day and age, it is not just contrarian for the sake of it, but it is a yearning to start looking at nature in a way that we should have done long time ago. The modern world is such that it has given us humans immense powers. Power to not only observe at nanometer, picometer, femtometer scales, but also to gigameter scales. You can peer deep into the outer space. You can look really deep into the microcosm of the universe. But while we observe all of this, there is this very innate human tendency to recreate whatever we are observing, or simulating whatever we are observing in the way that we understand. And modern science helps us do that. Just take for instance, today you must have seen certain small videos coming out on social media where there are these Chinese companies who are building quadrupeds. quadruped robots. And they're exactly like a dog, they're exactly like a deer or a cat, a big cat. What are we trying to do? It's an inorganic manifestation of an organic being that we have been seeing for so long. At one point in time, we feared it. At one point in time, we kind of lived with it. And today we are wanting to recreate it. We are wanting to recreate a ferocious animal that we've been living with. So, mimicking is something that we are very good at as human beings. But then, while that mimicry happens, is that mimicry sustainable? Is that mimicry sustainable for us spiritually? Environmentally, of course, we all know that it is unsustainable. A lot of our industrial activities, a lot of our, social and economic activities are such at this point in time that it really pains you, because there's no way out of it at this point in time. And this whole exercise of measuring our progress, measuring our growth in terms of gross domestic product is something that we'll have to give away. But when will that crescendo come? When will we exactly reach a stage where we would all want to shun those systems and go to a better model? So this discussion is exactly that. So while we talk about artificial intelligence, while we talk about huge data centers, while we talk about all the LLMs and the SLMs, I just need to, before I give it to Ramji, that there are 4 words which are somewhat associated with intelligence. One is cognition. One is sentience. The other is sapience. What are we doing to use these words when it comes to mimicking? Are we able to mimic sapiens? We are Homo sapiens. Are we able to mimic our own intelligence? Are we able to comprehend our own intelligence? No, we can't do that. That is one thing. Are we able to mimic sentience of other organisms? There's so many organisms around who have great amount of intelligence. You call them intelligent animals. You call apes intelligent. You call dolphins intelligent. You call whales intelligent. What kind of efforts are we putting in to understand their intelligence or their perception of the world? We're not doing much on that particular aspect. So it's very important as we proceed with AI to also look at the natural side of things, which we've been kind of losing out on. And I'll give you a very simple example before I move on to Ramji, that look around the education system around, at least here in India. There's so much thrust on applied sciences, there's so much thrust on engineering, right from central government to state governments, even in your own lives. I mean, most young members of your families are wanting to pursue something that would eventually give you a job. But nobody is wanting to spend their lives in the pursuit of nature, in the pursuit of understanding nature. Look at chemistry, look at physics. You've had so many laws. You have so many theories and postulates that were created back in the 18th and 19th century. Look at the past 80, 90 years. There's nothing at all. There are no new laws. There are no new postulates. There are no new theories. Because back then, scientists were as good as gurus sitting in a gurukul. They were isolated. Money wasn't an issue. They were not looking out for funding from the government. I want these many grants from the government to do this kind of a research. It was purely an intellectual pursuit. That kind of pursuit doesn't exist, and that's the reason why there are no new laws, there are no new postulates, there are no new theories coming out today. And this is not my yearning, this is not my cribbing. This is something that scientists all over the world are now realizing, that whatever is happening now is completely unsustainable. And that's why as we move from whatever stage of economy we are, we might be content with our progress. It's a good progress. On certain metrics, we are doing really well as a country. 6.2, 6.3% when the world is moving at 1.4, 1.2%-ish. We are doing exceedingly well. But this is also the time when we'll have to kind of tread our own path. And that's the reason why, while discussions on AI happen, discussions on natural intelligence should also begin to happen now. Ramji.
Thank you, Chaitanya ji, for setting the context. Now, when because of the theme for this our discussion is AI and natural intelligence, you'll find that if you go and read the literature that has been coming out from the Western psychology or the Western sciences 100 years back, then you will hardly find any exploration that has been done under the name of intelligence as a topic, consciousness studies as a topic, or something on that parameter. And I'll come to this, why there's huge gap, why there was a huge gap in the Western exploration after Renaissance or Enlightenment for almost 300 years or so, for not pursuing the topic which is at the core of any exploration. Okay. But entering into artificial intelligence and comparing that with human intelligence, first of all, you need to define what is human intelligence at all. Okay. Because we are trying to mimic human intelligence through artificial intelligence technology. So at every step, we are looking within ourselves perhaps and trying to understand what are various way, or that intelligence, if it is oneness, that intelligence, if it is operating inside us, how does it operate inside us? If we do not know the difference between that, then we get confused all the time. So let me put it this way, and in very summarized way, that artificial intelligence lacks common sense, which human intelligence doesn't. But even this is hard to make, this statement is hard to make, because we all the time discuss in ourselves when we are sitting that, he doesn't have common sense, she doesn't have common sense, we are lacking common sense and all that. So if we are lacking common sense, and if AI is also lacking common sense, then is there any differentiating factor between us and AI? Okay. So then where do we look at all these things? So let's get back to where artificial intelligence started. Okay. So Alan Turing, almost now 70, 80 years back, when he wrote when he gave this Turing test, it is called, he gave this test as a goal to be achieved. And that test was that suppose behind the curtain there is this one machine and there is one human being. Okay. And suppose if I am interacting with machine and human being, which I don't know because it's behind the curtain, and I cannot differentiate between who's replying, whether it's machine replying or whether it's human replying. That kind of interaction, if I can have with machines, then it will be called, then the artificial intelligence project will reach to its culmination. Okay. So that's what they are aiming for. Okay. But remember, when this artificial intelligence program came into conceptualization, what was the definition of intelligence in the West itself? That we need to understand. And what was definition of intelligence that's given in India or Indic literature or Indian knowledge system. So you'll find that in 1940s, 50s, in Western sciences, B.F. Skinner and his successor were playing a very important role of understanding how human psychology works. And basically they are saying that it is nothing but a stimulus and responses. So human intelligence is a product of nothing but you give him a stimulus and then you get response out of it. So they began to do experiments on, learning, conditioning, reflexes, associative learning, and all that. So suppose if someone is sitting in 1950s and imagining a machine, that what we need to achieve in the next maybe couple of decades is nothing but a machine that is capable of having this stimulus and response working, and then we'll have our goal achieved. Because then I cannot tell whether it's machine responding or whether it's human responding. Now this is very narrow, watered down version of, of human intelligence. So we need to understand, whenever we are debating about or trying to understand artificial intelligence from the prism of human intelligence, do we know the vastness, the breadth, the complexity, and the many layeredness of human intelligence or not? If we do not know that, then again and again we will start believing that this utopia that has been set, that artificial intelligence will rule the world at one point of time. Though I don't know, and no one knows right now what will happen in the next 50 years. But on what parameter they are saying it, this is quite, vague, and this doesn't have any standard way of assessing it. So there is this problem which is called, let's put it, when AI started developing, they put this problem, even the experts, that suppose if you are giving a command to AI that maximize the clip production. This is called paper clip problem, okay? And what it means is that suppose if you are giving this command to AI machine that maximize the clip production, and always have parallel with human intelligence also. And suppose if I am saying to human that maximize the clip production, how will they both behave? So AI paperclip problem is that if you give this command to artificial intelligence, they will start churning out whatever resources they have and convert that into clip. So suppose in this room, if AI machine is working, it will start, taking whatever material is there, start converting that into clip. Then after this room, the second room, third room, fourth room, the whole Auroville, then it will not stop. Because again, it doesn't, it lacks common sense, okay? It will keep on churning out the clips one after another without somewhere, gobbling the whole planet itself and, creating the clip, a ceaseless manufacturing of clip production. So this is what AI expert believed, that AI doesn't have what we call discrimination or vivek. AI doesn't have its own inner ethos and morality embedded into it. It's just a stimulus and response that's working there. In the same way, suppose if we try to compare what's happening in AI world is, on the other hand, because the case is made for, let's say, if it lacking common sense, but it is getting very closer to how we work and how we use our intelligence for. If you look at ChatGPT, okay, if you look at any other translating machine, if you look at other applications that are coming up, whether it's facial recognition or creating animated videos, or in defense and drone for something else, then how it looks very, very similar to how we do the task. So we feel strange that whatever qualities we have inside us is something that we see in the machine that we have created. But I'll leave you with one question here, and maybe ask Chaitanya to give us idea about the implication of this for cultural and social and maybe other areas also. That if AI lacks common sense, and if human intelligence is having depth which is unexplored, okay, or which is difficult to compare with this, can we make this statement about, let's say, calculator? Calculator know how to do mathematics, okay, arithmetical operation. And it's much better than human being in churning out that arithmetical calculation. can we say that calculator understand mathematics? So, if you cannot make this a statement that no, calculator doesn't understand mathematics, it has just captured one segment or one dimension or one layer of mathematics which is computational in nature, for which you can create algorithm, and maybe that can be replicated in machine. So if chat GPT is producing notes after note, let's say of your of your subject, maybe suppose if you are in law, if you are in psychology, and if it is churning out notes, essays, questions, does chat GPT know the intricacies of law or psychology, those things? So here we need to just step back and see, when we are imputing intelligence to that machine, are we talking about just one of the very limited component of what we call human intelligence operating in that machine, because we have figured out the computational nature of that intelligence and replicated in that machine. It will also help us understand what does it mean by being human. Because if you are saying that they can outperform us in this task, then are they more smarter than us? Are they more capable than us? Okay.
How many of you have watched Stranger Things? All seasons? Even the latest one? No. Okay. Okay. But the underlying theme of Stranger Things is that you have a character, the character that has been experimented upon, a character which have had superpowers, all lying here. All lying in her capabilities. You may allude it to intelligence, her way of seeing things, or her way of making things believe. No, that's not L, but I'm talking about Kali. Kali makes you see things in a certain fashion, one of the characters in Stranger Things. That whole concept of that kind of experimentation on humans is taken from maybe slightly similar experiments that have happened immediately after the Second World War. These are known as the Montauk experiments, where certain specially abled citizens in the United States were experimented upon, and it's part of the urban folklore since then in the US. That was one side of things. It's slightly dark in nature, but it is what it is. At the same time, Ramji mentioned Alan Turing. I am privy to certain kind of experiments that have happened, which were done by my academic ancestors. So my PhD bosses, their colleagues, and all those. To my knowledge, the origin of artificial intelligence is in a domain known as astrobiology. 1960s is when the Americans and the Soviet, they became very confident that going to the moon, going to Mars is easily possible. So of course there was a race for the moon, and which was quite political race, but there was no race for going to Mars. Okay. All the Mars missions were being designed in, I wouldn't say secrecy, but in solitude. There wasn't much hullabaloo about it. There was a Nobel Prize winner, very well known. His name is Joshua Lederberg, Nobel Prize in Biological Sciences. He came up with a machine learning system which could identify molecules on Mars, and from, of course, all the sample analysis that you do on the Martian surface, and identify whether these molecules would be of any ability in creation of life. So for him, artificial intelligence was geared towards finding life somewhere else. So this is one of the lesser known aspects of artificial intelligence and how it was being conceived. Now, how do you connect it? at one stage, you're looking at molecules. At a later stage, you're looking, using the same kind of AI in search of extraterrestrial intelligence. Heard of SETI, SETI, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence? Again, those were the kind of experiments which began in the 1950s, 60s. Now, coming back to the mass psychology of why all those kind of experiments happened in the 60s, in the 70s, and they were not pursued later on. Because there was a lot of trauma in the world. And the scientific community all over the world, especially those who could, who were not, kind of tied to the government dark projects or anything like that, they were very much interested in coming together and doing things that they couldn't have imagined during the interwar or during the war phases. So, looking out for alien species, looking out for, as I said, exotic molecules on Mars or on the moon, and understanding our own cognition through Montauk experiments. All this happened during those 20 odd years. When the trauma went away, people also moved away from those kind of experiments. We moved towards more mundane things. And today we are here sulking that why is exciting science not happening anymore? And that's the reason why there's one way of, and this is a great platform, sitting here in Auroville, you can talk about these topics. Conventional academia is not discussing this. And what is that topic? That there is great need for understanding natural intelligence, which includes ours, which includes maybe alien intelligence, maybe somebody sitting out there in the universe, maybe all the intelligent species, and maybe even those species that we don't think are intelligent, including microscopic organisms. There's a lot to learn from it. There's a lot to imbibe into our society from it. There's a lot to absorb, so that we all live sustainably and we do not make a muck of all the resources that we are extracting now at a rampant pace. So I think the time is up, and happy to discuss more with you after this discussion.